Hey, I just want to let you know that if you haven't been using gentle parenting techniques lately, or if you're not doing intermittent fasting, or if your food pantry doesn't look like a fucking museum full of color-coordinated plastic display containers, or if you ate a cookie today instead of worked out, or if your last family trip wasn't a meditative retreat to a unicorn farm in the jungle last year, that you're still okay by me, all right? Fuck that noise. That shit doesn't matter. Now go get yourself a snack and have a great day.
Welcome to Your Mom. Your Mom Podcast. Your Mom's Podcast.
This isn't any podcast. This is your mother's podcast.
My Mom's Podcast.
Nah, dude, she's your mom.
With Ashley Addison and Lisa McCaffrey.
Your mom is a podcast.
Shut up, dude.
Get yourself a snack and turn up the volume because you are about to have a great day. You are in the right place, exactly where you're supposed to be. Welcome to Your Mom. I'm Ashley Adamson, a mom of 2 young kids in San Francisco. I felt like they were getting too much attention from me, so I started a podcast on the side with Lisa McCaffrey to talk about parenting. Lisa raised 4 amazing boys who all play or coach football currently. She's married to 3-time Super Bowl champion Ed McCaffrey, but what the world is starting to realize, thanks to this new platform, I think this is true, Lisa, is that you are the star of the family. Something that we've all known for a long time, but it's clear now and everyone's knowing.
And if I'm not, I'm going to make my kids say that. Yeah,
exactly.
If they want a Thanksgiving meal, they better say that.
Yeah, you're a mom influencer now.
Yeah.
We've been at this thing for about 4 months, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like dog years. Like I feel like we've been doing this for a lot longer than 4 months in some ways. But
yeah, it's been a blast. I love it.
Yeah. And this thing, for those of you who are new to our podcast, is interviewing moms of highly successful people to get tips on, what they did, what they wish they had done differently, and, to hear their own remarkable stories, because news flash, moms have their own unique experiences and lives that have nothing to do with their freaking children. Who knew, Lisa?
Shocking. Yep.
So on that note, there is a ton of amazing mom content on social media. And our guest today is, at least in my humble opinion, the queen of this space, because she threads the needle of being like insanely funny, self-deprecating, and also uplifting, relatable, and just so real. She has an incredible story of her own. Her name is Caitlin Murray, AKA the mastermind behind Big Time Adulting on Instagram. She's got a podcast of the same name. Mom of 3, she's freaking awesome. And this morning she put out a post that made me feel so much better about all of the dead plants in my house.
And the fake ones that I have. That's my fake ones.
Without further ado, Caitlin Murray, welcome to Your Mom. It is awesome to have you.
Oh my gosh, that was such a gratuitous entry. Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited to be with you guys.
Well, what if we told you that we don't actually have a podcast? We just tell people that to make friends and see if we can get them to like day drink with us. Yeah, we just wanted to meet you.
Let's have a chat.
But truly, like for all the horrible things on social media and all the things that we know that social media is doing to our brains, like this moment right here is why I love it. Because a couple weeks ago, I slide into your DMs. I say, hey, we have a podcast. We'd love to have you on. And you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And here you are on our screen. So this is what is good about social media. Thank you for being here. It's awesome.
So excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Can we talk about your background? Because it's fascinating, and we'll get to your content and kind of how you got there. But I think we need to start with how Big Time Adulting all started. And for people who have followed you for a long time, they know your story. But just, can you give us sort of the Cliff's Notes version of how you got here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was like kind of laughing there to myself for a second, like, well, how far back do you want me to go? Okay,
let's go. This is a podcast. We don't have a producer. We can go as long as we want.
Pussy baby. Locked in 1 year.
Anyway, I got my period when I was in.
The first time you've got felt up. That's what you call it.
I was pretty prude actually for a while there.
Well, I can tell you're making up for lost time.
Right. Anyway, ladies, waiting.
And you
Big Time Adulting is the name of actually the first the first time I used that name was to start a blog that I was writing about my son because he was diagnosed with leukemia in 2016. He was 3 years old at the time. He's my firstborn. And I had a 1-year-old also at that time. We have one more now. He's 3.5, ruining my life on the daily. Very cute though.
As 3.5-year-olds do. I can attest to that.
Yeah, totally. But so anyway, I started the blog because I was just writing it as updates to friends and family pretty much on what we were going through at the time in terms of my son's leukemia treatment, which lasted quite a while, over 3 years, which is something I found just super shocking out of the gates of, beyond the actual shock of learning that your little child has cancer, which is, I think, every parent's worst nightmare. There are worse things, but that was pretty bad. And it was a super difficult time for me as a mom. And it was a challenge to me in terms of how I kind of had envisioned my life as a parent and a mom at that point. I was still felt so new to it. I just sort of felt like I had just gotten my feet on the ground a little bit, and then that happened. And so the blog was just about me sharing, but it was really like a super cathartic experience for me to put stuff on paper, because I tried to do it with anecdotal bits and pieces of our days at the hospital and humor, and it just felt good to me. So that's how I started that. And then long story short, I guess I decided to sort of take my show on the road and hit up Instagram with it. And I didn't really start my page out talking about my son all the time. He is featured, or that part of my motherhood experience is talked about within some of my posts, and more so on my stories. If you follow me, you probably see me there more getting real. But that's how it began. So I started that my page about 3 years ago, and it's just been like a really fun, creative outlet for me as a mom, because a lot of the stuff that I was going through before my son got sick was just like, oh my God, like this is fucking crazy town every day around here, with just 2 little kids who were healthy. And then I felt like once that happened to him, all those things that I was already thinking about raising little kids, I was like, you know what? I can say whatever I want now.
Amen.
I've been through the trenches here. So come for me if you want to ask about like whether or not I'm grateful for my kids or challenge me on that. It's like, I've been through something very difficult, and I'm gonna say whatever I feel about any of it now. So that's how that big time adulting was born. I didn't realize, that when I was naming my blog, that it was going to end up being my Instagram page name for all these years now. But here I am.
You have such a great take on everything that happened. It's like Ashley said, humorous and poignant. Do you have like an English background or writing background? Because it's so good. Your take on it. It's amazing.
Oh, wow. God, you guys are just pumping my tires. I don't have it. I like to write, just more. I honestly don't even think my writing is very good. I think it's just like, you put your thoughts on paper, and if it sounds real, people like it. So
yeah, it's very real, which probably is what people gravitate towards. That's what we're sort of learning. The more real, the better, for real. Because then most people can relate to it because it's real.
Yeah. And it's something different, I think. I mean, there are a lot of people out there being real on social media, but there are a lot of people out there being kind of, just showing the highlight reel on social media, which is, sort of the term that we hear all the time. And, don't just show your highlight reel. But my page is certainly not a highlight reel, but it's hopefully mostly funny.
It's my highlight reel. I find myself, we send, I've got a bunch of moms that I am friends with on social media, and I feel like we are constantly sending your clips, clips back and forth to each other. How do you come up with, because I imagine at some point, like you got all this stuff in your head and you're inherently hilarious, like your personality is your personality, but do you try and do you ever feel stressed about trying to come up with, what am I going to post about today? Or does it just kind of pop in your head and you just are inspired and you do it?
I do feel stressed about it sometimes. Yeah,
I could see that.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel very funny today or whatever it is, but inevitably something pops up along the day where I'm like, this could be funny. This could be something I could make funny. And then I sort of write down a thought, or a lot of my thoughts come to me about what I want to talk about right before I fall asleep. Like, and then I just put a note in my phone. I don't know why that's like a productive time for me.
Yeah.
But for some reason it is. And then I kind of sit on it and think a little bit more how I want to develop it. And then, but it's done fairly spontaneously and not in a lot of time because I don't have a lot of time. It's like these little pockets. My 3-year-old goes to school from like 9 to 11:30. So I blink and I have to go pick him up. So if I want to like squeeze in some, but I do have a babysitter who comes twice a week to help me out. So then I do it too. And then I'm just like whispering in my kitchen or something. I'm like,
which is also what makes it so great too. I love those where you're like hiding in a closet. It feels like it's just,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do. Yeah. It takes what it takes. What do you have a favorite? Like what was the most viral one? Because I feel like I've got a couple that I really love, but what was the most viral one that you've done or that you feel like you're like, that one was awesome?
Well, I used to do a lot of dancing with my little guy, the baby, and so there are a couple dancing posts that went viral-ish. And then recently, I've been using kind of a new tagline. Not that recently, I guess, but get yourself a snack and have a great day. And a couple of those have been going around. They're like
it's the best tagline. How did you come up with that tagline? Because it's by far the best tagline I've heard.
I just like get a snack. Like stop worrying about this. Just eat a snack. Do something normal. Like it's just who doesn't like snacks?
Who doesn't like snacks?
I wish you had your Instagram account when I was coming along. I wish there was Instagram when I was raising mine because I wish someone had just said that to me. Go get a snack and calm down. Calm the F down. Please, it's all going to be okay. Your attitude, it's so good. It's so good. I wish someone had told me that. So.
Thank you, but I do overthink everything anyway myself. So it's just like half of the time it's just me coaching myself right out of my own psychosis,
I totally get that. Yeah. You have to say it out loud. You're like, okay, no, this is what we all should be doing. I have one of my dear friends, Catherine, who I've been friends with since 8th grade. I've talked to her about her before on this podcast, but she and I, again, always send each other your videos. She was so excited that you were coming on. And she wanted me to tell you that A, she loves you. And B, since you were such a big advocate for snacks, what is your favorite snack?
Oh, my favorite snack. It depends on the time of day. But usually I like a little sweet treat in the afternoon. Little coffee and a cookie.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it just makes
Are you a
happy.
Baker? Like, do you bake your
No,
store bought?
You cook?
Yeah.
You cook dinner?
I cook a lot. Yeah, I like to cook, although it's becoming more and more of a pain in my ass as time goes on. It's actually getting less so because the kids are getting older and they actually like appreciate some food now, and it's more just like my little one. He makes it impossible to like get through the cooking of dinner without having some kind of a meltdown along the way,
And his name's Luke, right?
Yeah.
My youngest is Luke too.
Is he like a Luke?
100%. I was listening to some of your comments about him. I'm like, oh my gosh, she had my Luke. It's the same. It's the same. So yeah, but they turn out, I swear the youngest ends up being the best.
I love to hear that. I also say like this, I'm making fun of Lukey so often, right? Like I'm just shitting all over that poor kid all the time. But like,
fine.
He is also like what I prayed for, because I didn't know if I would feel strong enough to go for a third child after what we had been through. Because it was a lot and my son was still in treatment. And I was like, if I keep waiting to have a third kid, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to get too far out of the baby and toddler stuff. And I won't have like the patience or the will to go through the pregnancy stuff again. Anyway, but I always wanted 3. So when I was kind of just like asking God for like a little boy full of energy and stuff. Like that's what I wanted. And that's what I ended up getting. So as much as he challenges me, I'm like, this is exactly what I asked for. And I know, he'll bring me a lot of joy for years to come.
Warms my heart in so many ways. I give you so much credit, Caitlin, because I was listening to one of your podcasts when you were talking about deciding to go for a third in the midst of what is a very you've been through and we're still in a traumatic experience of your son being diagnosed with leukemia. You have your daughter was how old then? 2?
One.
1?
Yeah.
Wow. So that is, you got to be, I think as a mom, you got to be brave and you got to be a little crazy too, for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little crazy.
You're good crazy. You're the good crazy.
Yeah,
Like a
in the
challenge.
best way. Exactly. And I also just, when the way that you say, like, the only way to get through it is to laugh. And we excel
and
at
keep
making
moving
fun of our
forward.
kids. Yeah.
Keep going. Just keep going. I love that too.
No,
So.
it is. What have you learned about yourself in the process of how all of this has come? Because I imagine did you ever imagine that this was going to be your track?
No, yeah, of course not. I never imagined anything like this would happen. I mean, I feel like I'm an anxious person though, however. So I can sit in the worst case scenario in my mind for quite a bit if you let me go, if I don't stop myself. But this is not the worst case scenario, however. So I think that going through this with Callum and being scared and all of that, and people who see it from the outside are like, oh my god, like that is awful, how did you get through that stuff? And I think just the feeling of gratitude for where we were with it. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. So like, I'm just grateful that this treatment process has a good prognosis. And yeah, it's going to take a long time and it's going to suck, but I would do it every day till the end of my life if it meant he would still be here, so that's how I feel lucky. We are very lucky. So I think that's just the attitude I tried to adopt going through it. Of course, I had some bad days in there and days where I felt bad for myself once in a while, but mostly I feel lucky.
And talk about at the beginning, before he was actually diagnosed, he was sick and you had an instinct, you had a mom inkling or a mom notion that there was something more happening to him than just the flu or just being sick. You knew, and it was you're the one that made them, test him and get diagnosed.
Yeah, I think when you're a mom, you know your kids so much better than anyone else. Like we're just studying them from the day that they're born, and you just the gait of their stride, and it's like if anything is off, you realize it first. Like I know the day before my kids get sick that they're going to wake up with like a full-blown cold the next day because a little something changed in their voice the day before, just like you guys know that about your kids. So basically I think like that what I learned from that is kind of like the onus is on you as a parent. You're never going to regret going the extra mile and getting something checked out or being the advocate for your kid and being like, no, this is what I believe and think, and not being worried about feeling over dramatic or being, a nuisance to somebody else, because it's just worth getting checked out if you have a feeling about something, if you have some evidence there that makes you. I don't like to say that too often to people who are prone to being overly nervous about things, because like that doesn't mean you need to check everything else. But like, if it's been over a week and your kid is not getting better and you see them not being more back to themselves, then something underlying might be going on and you got to get checked out, despite what a doctor says sometimes.
And you did a whole podcast. It was a great interview with a doctor about health anxiety. And, you kind of opened up about that you had this well before Callum was diagnosed. And you said something in there that stuck with me. You said, like the worry that we carry around, or maybe the doctor said it, is never going to go away or help us or contribute to the eventual outcome. And it's a sad way to live life. And yet so many of us, moms in particular, carry that around and we live in that space. So for someone who was prone to that, has lived through, again, one of your worst nightmares as a parent is having a diagnosis like this for your kid. Is there advice for how to let go of that mindset, of how to get it out, that anxiety out of your head?
Yeah, that I did say that. It's something that like I continue to, like I'm saying, I coach myself through all the stuff that I talk about and joke about with parenting stuff. Like, don't worry about that stupid shit or whatever. But I'm sorry, is this podcast not
it's explicit.
Oh,
it's fucking explicit. This is, yeah. Bring it on.
I was on some Barstool Sports recently cursing. So
nice.
So
Yeah, she actually already talked to a priest about it. And as long as you're not cursing at someone, it's an exclamatory swear word. It's not, we're all good. So
that's how I feel.
Fucking party on.
Priest, a pastor. I need to find a rabbi to okay it with the rabbi, but I got the priest and the pastor are on board. You're allowed to curse, just not curse at somebody.
Yeah.
That works for me.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Perfect. We're good.
But yeah, so I think, like, you know, when you're coaching, like I coach myself through things like mindsets like that, where it's like, okay, is my worrying about this, is this feeling that I have, this deep like weight that I'm carrying on my chest right now, gonna change anything? No. Going to the doctor, maybe, if I need to go to the doctor and get an answer for better, you know, like for peace of mind, something like that. Or knowing that if you can just wait this out, like probably everything's going to be okay, and stop thinking about the worst case scenario so much. I mean, like my mom would say to me, this is before Callum even got sick, just like, Caitlin, there's no allotted amount. I used to think like I've been so like lucky. I've had like such a nice life. I'm so grateful for all of this stuff. My mom would say, Caitlin, there's no such thing as an allotted amount of luck that you get in life. Like, it's not just something bad is not going to happen just because you've had good luck or something like that. And it's true. Life is just life. Things are going to happen no matter what, no matter how much you think about it, no matter how much you don't think about it. Life is going to happen around us. It's the ultimate next level Zen, is relinquishing that illusion of control and living in the moment. Right. I'm not there yet. I'll let you know if I ever get there.
That's a hard thing to tackle.
Caitlin, I feel like you are speaking directly to my soul right now, because it's something that I have struggled with, and I've had people, I need to call your mom more often, because I've had so many blessings in my life. I've had hard things, as everyone has had, but I even as a kid, I remember even in high school, I was like terrified that something was going to happen, because it all sort of felt too good to be true a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Like, why am I so lucky that I get to have this family, and that I get to go and do these things, and I got to go to a great college, and now I have a great job, and now I've got 2 kids and a wonderful husband.
And a kick-ass best friend.
And an amazing best friend who I do a podcast with, and now a third new best friend who's going to be part of our podcast. But sometimes I feel like my... to use like a biblical term, like my cup is running over. Mm-hmm. And I had somebody say to me one time, like, it's okay. Like, there's more, and there's abundance, and that is great. And there are going to be times when it's not going to be great, but you'll get through that too. And it's not like we each deserve a certain amount of good fortune or bad fortune. That's not the way that it all works. So it's something I have struggled with literally my entire life.
I think the key to it is appreciating it, what you have, what you have. And Caitlin, you do a great job of that. Really good job. And even in the times of strife and struggle, you found the positive to it and laughed. And I love that. I think that's huge. It's very hard to do, but that's pretty amazing. You could do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that.
Very proud of you.
Truly.
When did you start? When were you able to start? I don't want to say laughing about what happened, but when were you able to find humor as like a relief after Callum had been diagnosed?
Yeah, it's funny. My husband and I, like, for so long after he was first diagnosed, so he was diagnosed at the end of December of 2016. My husband's birthday is the first week of February. So at that point, that first, like, it was about a month and a few days or whatever in change after his diagnosis. And it was my husband's birthday. I said, like, should we go out for dinner? Like, do you want to go out for dinner? And like, we get to dinner and we're like trying to enjoy the night and stuff, but inevitably, like, we both just ended up in tears, like at that dinner, just looking at each other. But it was like a nice moment for us too, just like there was so much love in the moment itself as well. But it was kind of, the conversation was, when is it going to feel okay to be like happy and smile again? And it just, at some point, like, you just have to start laughing at things again and just when something funny happens, let it in and let your heart be open to that, and the small wins throughout a day, and the little bits of joy that are always there, that you can always access, like if you want to, if you open your heart to it. So I think, it takes a little while sometimes when something like really sad or hard happens to us, but just, I think I knew in my mind, I definitely knew, like, positively, that I would get to that place. It was just a little bit of a matter of time. Probably took a couple of months for me, though, but I mean, listen, right out of the gates, I was making jokes still with the doctors when we were there at the beginning. They were like, anything he can eat is good because he's not going to have much of an appetite or whatever. And so they like come around at the hospital with like candy carts for all the kids with cancer on the pediatric oncology floor, just like all the things you would imagine seeing in your head. And they're handing him like M&Ms, and he's eating M&Ms. And it's like 8:00 at night. I'm like, oh my God, I would never allow this at home, And like I said to the doctor, I was like, hurry up and get this kid better so I can go back to being the bitch mother that I'm used to.
Shoving vegetables down the road. Yeah.
Like, I don't want
You're going to ruin him with those M&Ms.
Yeah. He was probably never happier in his life. Like,
yeah.
Oh, and I do think that humor is part of it. And I'm thinking about even just the doctors and the caretakers who are, think about what that world is like. And
oh my God. I know.
God bless them.
A little cry the other day thinking about them, because I know, like at Memorial Sloan Kettering, where my son was treated, which is like a really fantastic cancer center, and they have a lot of breakthrough research programs and that kind of thing. And the doctors there, they lose kids. It happens, obviously. And they have like a day each year where the doctors like go and mourn the loss of their patients that they lost that year. And it's just like thinking about how they just put one foot in front of the other every day and go back to work and do their job, because they're all amazing too. They have great like bedside manner, and they have hearts in there, and you can tell they're very warm and wonderful people. And
the only way you could do that work is if you had a heart that is way bigger than most people. A good friend of mine, the one who I mentioned to you before we started this, who lives in Massachusetts, not too far from where you're from, her youngest, she has 4, and her youngest was born in cardiac arrest.
Wow.
And had a heart transplant when she was 4 months old. And thankfully she was at Boston Children's Hospital, which is the best place that you could be for cardiac, pediatric patients. And my time there, and just seeing what those caregivers do. And, thankfully my friend's daughter is doing great. She's amazing. She's thriving. She's doing all the things that nobody ever thought she was going to be able to do. But I just think about how intense it was for 8 months they were in the hospital for 6 months, then all the journey beyond that. And it's every single day there's a new patient coming through that room. We lived it sort of for a small amount of time in the grand scheme of things, but I have so much love and appreciation for people who can do that work every single day. It's amazing.
They're amazing.
Yeah. I got to ask you, give us an update on how Callum is doing now. What's he like? What's he into? And how's his health?
Callum's doing great now. He just turned 9 on this past Thursday, November 10th.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Thank you. And he's in the 3rd grade. He's sharp as a tack, that guy. He's very bright. He's very verbal, always has been. So
I wonder where he gets that from. That's weird.
Oh, thank you. Anyway,
she was talking about your mom. She was talking about your mom is very
mom
verbal. Yeah,
she is very eloquent as well. So anyway, but Callum, we got him an Apple Watch actually for his birthday, which I'm not like really big. We've never given it. This is like by far the most amazing gift that any of my kids have come close to receiving. Usually it's like, here's, your cake. That's like your whatever. But he's getting a little bit more freedom now. We've been letting him like ride his bikes to his games, which are like in a park down the street and stuff. So it's nice to be able to like locate him, or if he needs to get in touch with me, he can. I actually can hear my kids. They just,
I know. I hope they come in.
Get up. Unbelievable.
Oh, seriously, if they bust through the door.
I hope they do.
Good.
I hope they do.
But my daughter was insanely jealous over this watch. But basically, you can text from the watch. So my husband and I are just getting fucking fired by text by Callum all day long now, and it's just like, Mom, I love you. Mom, I'm watching, whatever show or something. I'm just like, oh my God, this is just a stream of consciousness coming out.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. But so he's doing great, thank God.
Good.
Yeah.
Does he think you're funny?
I think he does, actually.
Yeah, he should. He'll appreciate it even as he gets older.
When he turns 13, he may not think you're so
I know. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys posted. It'll be interesting.
Call us if you need a little boost, because we'll always think you're funny. So
we're just going to fluff your feathers anytime you want to come on this podcast. Hey, I know your kids are there, and we'll let you go and I got 2 last things for you.
Yeah.
One is I know. We talked about your mom, and I loved the podcast that you did with her. Her name is Anne.
Yeah, Annie. Yeah.
Which is my mom's name.
Oh my gosh.
And it sounds like your mom was I don't know if she was nervous to do it or if she was just playing around at the front, but how did you convince her to do it? Did it take some convincing? And did you actually get her to drink a little bit before that?
Oh yeah. We went to lunch and had a couple pops at lunch before we started the podcast. And then she was nervous. If you were just in person with her, she is super comfortable and just really warm and engaging and the most amazing listener of all time. But yeah, she was a little nervous to come on, which I get, when you're just being, on a microphone or something like that, flip switches. If you're not used to it, if you don't do it a lot, it takes time. Yeah. She's not accustomed to it, but
she was great.
She found her groove. Yeah. She was good. Yeah.
I could tell, it was just so clear. She was, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because she was quick-witted. She was hilarious. So I got to maybe that's what the key is, because my mom's nervous to come on. And I'm
get her lit.
That's what I'm saying. I got to have a glass of wine, but then good Lord, we're going to have to edit that whole thing because God knows. God only knows. Okay. The other last thing I want to ask you is one of my favorite short podcasts you did was about making mom friends. And I loved it. It was so simple and so spot on. But you talk about when you think about it, making friends as adults is a little bit weird. Kids are so good at it because there's just no pretenses and you can be I like rocks. You like rocks. Let's go hang out and talk about rocks.
But best friends.
And I think you said something in there that just totally spoke to me. That is you have to also understand that time for yourself is so limited. So do you really give a shit? And would it be fun to go hang out with these moms?
Right.
Or is it desire for more friendships, or is it just FOMO? And I think that is so spot on because I always feel like I need to be engaging more with moms and, my kids' friends' moms. And I just felt like that was exactly what I needed to hear because I have some great mom friends, but I also feel like, I don't know, some of it's just FOMO. I'm like, it's okay that I didn't go to that concert or that I didn't go to that thing.
I remember my kids will bond with some people and I don't bond with the parents and vice versa. And I love the parents sometimes, but yet my kids won't bond with their kids. And that's normal. That's okay. Just don't force your kid to be friends with somebody just because you're friends with a parent.
I know. Yeah. I have some friends who have boundless energy to be social and get out there and get together and that kind of thing. And it just, I think it depends on what type of person you are sometimes, you might, I feel like I am very extroverted, but I'm I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert. I need a lot of solitude and quiet time to charge my battery or a social situation. I feel like I get amped up and I like being there, but it takes a lot out of me. So I need time to recover.
Oh my gosh.
Alone time after that.
You're speaking to me because that's exactly how I feel. But it took me 53 years to realize that. I'm just now coming to terms with that. And my husband's always gets mad at me oh my gosh, you were the life of the party. And now you're just you're a deadbeat and you just want to watch TV. I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't know what it is. And he's like, is it me? Do I bore you? I'm like, no, I just need to recharge, I guess.
Yeah.
But literally, so, that's good that you're so young and you realize that now. That's a good trait to know. So good job. Once again, I learn something every day.
Yeah. I think you get people get self-conscious about oh my God, these people are all out together. Well, they just might be a big group of fucking social butterflies who want to be with other people all the time, so it's not like necessarily that you're not making friends. It's just like, that's not really your jam to be with.
Totally.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have to start a fake podcast to make friends, which works.
Or an Instagram account and just let all of your wacky thoughts out into the world.
And then you could be friends with all the people that comment. That's what's so fun, because I'm sure you get some great comments.
I'm sure you get great ones. I'm sure you get like, are there? I'm sure there are trolls.
I would say 99% of people are like awesome and write really funny things back and are supportive and super nice. And then you do get but you know what? It's like funny. You focus on that one negative comment. Like, oh my God, this person.
It's the one that sticks in your head at night. I know, it totally sticks in your head. And and I'm also like, just go on another, like, then why are you following me? Like,
you're just like
somewhere else.
You're just like lying in your bed, like thinking like, what would I say to that person if I saw them in real life?
What would I say if I ever met him in his mom's basement? What would
I was going to say, you'd
that?
have to go knock on their grandmother's basement door and get down there and tell them, me. What did I do?
Like, not surprise, bitch. I'm a real person. Not on your keyboard anymore.
With
are you?
feelings
and
a heart.
Someone told me one time that they're all bots. All those really mean comments, they're all bots. They're all fake. So
I think a lot of them honestly are, which is why I do typically ignore them. Sometimes I call them out in my stories and talk about it because I think that that's funny.
Yes.
Or there's something poignant that I want to say and make a point about it. But I don't actually like harbor it for too long. So
that's good. And that probably takes a little practice too. Because it's hard. I mean, I think that's a learning.
The internet's a tough place.
Dude, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah.
Keyboard warriors are out there. Yep.
Lisa, I have to tell you a quick story. When I was on the beach this summer with my family, we were sitting there. It was pretty empty beach. And then these 3 like teenage boys, they weren't quite teenagers, they were tweens, I would say, walk by. And they look at my husband and they go, "Hey, are you Christian McCaffrey?" And they thought he looked just like your son. And
That's funny.
At that point, I looked at Mike and I go, "Who's
Christian McCaffrey?"
And he goes, "He's like a really good football player." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "How old is he?" And so then when you guys asked me to be on the podcast, I was dying laughing about it. I was like, "Oh my God, it's Christian."
That's okay. Now I want to see a picture of your husband.
That is the best story.
I know.
You're gonna have to send us one, and we'll put it on the podcast. Does he look like Christian? Now that
he actually really does have a resemblance. I mean, he definitely looks older though, and not like
that
as sprightly as Christian.
Amazing.
What's his 40 time? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he is actually fucking fast.
Is he really? What's his bench? What does he bench?
Oh. Do you think Christian has his double life? Do you think he's like married with children in Westchester, New York?
Wall Street stockbroker. He's not. He pretends to not be good with the numbers, but maybe secretly he is.
In all of his free time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is such a great story. I bet your husband probably felt pretty good. I bet Mike, right?
Oh,
Mike is his name.
Oh yeah. He probably feels like how I feel coming off of this podcast.
Look at me.
Do you have any advice for us? You've been in the space longer. Like what has worked?
God.
What have you realized that moms want or need?
Help us.
Podcasting advice and stuff, you guys, I have no idea. I just am like throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, I keep like it, because the internet is a funny place, or the world is a funny place. The virtual world is a funny place that way. Are we in virtual world? I don't know, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The online world, it's just one of those things where like sometimes things hit and sometimes they don't, and you don't necessarily, it feels like you don't even have a lot of control over that. So I just feel like it's if it's something that you enjoy and that like feels true to you, then and feels like you really want to do it or share it or whatever, then just do it and stick with like your guns and just be you on there and keep going. And not that like I don't even know where I'm going with all of
Well,
my
that's what I
things,
was going to
you know?
ask you. Do you have a vision for like what you want? I mean, you're killing it now, but like, is there something that you
your own
wanted to
talk
do? You want to
show
write a
and
book? Yeah. Do you want to start a talk show with us, or
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
right.
I actually did a podcast the other day with 3 people, not my podcast, somebody else's podcast. And I love the 3-person dynamic. It's a nice chatter.
It is.
But so I mean, that's really nice of you guys to say. I mean, I'm not honestly doing much of anything outside of just posting content and stuff like that. So I will see where it takes me. And I'm on the journey right now, because I'm still raising my little, like, I'm still pretty much the full-time stay-at-home mom. My little guy, like I said, doesn't get out of school until, he gets out of school early, and I'm on for the day. So I don't have like huge pockets of time to achieve my goals right now, but
There's plenty of time later, trust me.
yeah.
But you are achieving goals. Like
Yes,
you are.
No, you're killing it.
I'm telling you, there have been so many times that I've just like listened to one of your videos and it was exactly what I needed in that moment. And I know a million other moms feel the same way. My sister-in-law.
You make my drive to Greeley so much better.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
true.
nice, because Lisa, I know your kids are older now and stuff too. So I'm always like really flattered and honored by people who say that they relate to the stuff that I do. Cause like I said, like you are just kind of just putting stuff out there, seeing what happens.
It's fantastic. It's so fun. It's fantastic. I love listening to it. I look forward to it. Gets me through the day. Makes me laugh. Love it.
Do you have a last, I know I said that this was like my last thing 8 times. So this will actually be this last thing.
That's fine.
But do you have I feel like you've got so many good words of wisdom. Do you have a piece of advice for the moms who are listening to this, and the dads? We got a lot of dads too, I think, that listen.
Moms and dads. I just think like you just got to do you, and stop. Like I said something recently on a reel, just like fuck the noise. There's so much noise around us, and it can like make you second guess yourself and overthink things, and just think that you have to do something that other people are doing, or pay attention to different trends that are going on and stuff. And actually none of that stuff is important, obviously. We know that, I think, in our heart of hearts, but you just have to like remind yourself, like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah. We always say, could you imagine how freeing it would be if you could truly understand how little other people are thinking about you, or really give a shit about what you're doing? And if you could really just like, it's so freeing, because I think so much of what we end up doing and the decisions that we make in our lives and what we spend money on and all these different things is about how we want people to view us. And like at the end of the day, no one really gives a shit.
No one cares.
Because they're all thinking about themselves.
Yeah. And I think people are honestly like super relieved if they find out that you don't really give a shit about that stuff, because then they don't have to pretend like they do too. It's just like none of that shit matters.
It doesn't. It literally doesn't. Yeah, I couldn't agree. Okay. Well, I hope that you've got a snack waiting for you.
I do. I'm ready for a snack.
Go for it. Your coffee and biscuit and cookie.
Yeah.
That
I brought
right
a fruit roll up.
I'm gonna get one.
That was the only thing. I looked in my cupboard for a snack, and this was literally the only thing that I thought.
Fruit roll up.
I brought chocolate.
Oh, that looks nice. What do you have there, Lisa? What is that?
Like, it's dark. It only is dark chocolate. I'm a big milk chocolate person, so I like the sugar. But I found this in my closet, dark chocolate. So let's go.
It's that's the wrapper. It's not like a dark and a white. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, that's good for you. I think dark chocolate's good for you. That's what they say.
Yeah, it's good for you. You should eat the whole thing.
What's jelly beans? Jelly beans.
Oh, jelly beans.
Those
oh my gosh. Are they strawberry or cherry? They're all red.
It's called Fireside. So they're like hot spicy. And some cherry. It's a little spicy. They're so good.
Nice.
I'd look for them. Yeah. They're really good.
Oh, it's making my mouth water.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, good for the digestion.
Is that some kombucha?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I love kombucha.
Ashley thought I was like chugging White Claws.
I did. The first time she brought this out, I'm like, what are you drinking right now? It's like
hard seltzer. Hard seltzer.
Yeah, I know. I wish she was.
I do sometimes drink the hard kombuchas, the ones that
those
have
are good.
alcohol in them.
Those are good. What's your drink of choice? What's your favorite?
One time I had too many because
once. Only once.
Well, not in an alcohol way as much as too much kombucha.
Oh, it upset your
I
stomach.
think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, it was
I think
a lot.
I'm-
It was a lot. It was a lot of live active cultures. Let's just put it that way.
And they had a big party.
For one person in one day.
Well
Yeah.
said. A lot of live active cultures. Oh, Caitlin Murray, you're the best. I can we do this again, but with wine?
Yeah. I'm gonna have you guys on my podcast.
I was going to say,
Oh, yeah.
we
Game
thought you'd
on.
never ask. That's literally why
Yeah.
we've stayed on for so long, because we were just waiting for the invitation. Now we can let you go.
Finally.
There it is.
Oh, we're done.
No, you're awesome. Can we get a signature goodbye from you? Because I feel like
Yeah, you know what I have to say. Get yourself a snack. Have a great day.
Let's go.
Boom.
Thanks for having me.
Caitlin, you're the best.
Great
Thanks
to
for
meet you
ignoring your
guys.
kids for an hour to hang out with us.
Absolutely. Anytime.